Alright, so I wanted to put together a real quick little video to show you kind of the easiest way to do your bridge. So I went ahead and started a project here, and I'm not going to bore you with watching me draw this whole thing, but what I want you to see is that we can go through really quickly and draw what our overall bridge is going to be. So it's going to be 12 inches long. I'm going to have 3 pieces stacked on the bottom. So I know that each of my pieces is 1/8 of an inch. So what you can do is you can type 3 times 0.125 if you don't want to figure out what the actual math is for it. You can let SolidWorks do that for you. So there's my base. I'm going to have 3 pieces stacked there. Then I'm going to have my top here, and I know that my overall height of my bridge for this one, for this example that I want, is going to be 3 inches. And so I'm going to come up, I'm going to connect these, and I want my sides to be at a 45-degree angle. Alright, so there's my overall shape there. What I need to do now is I'm going to just offset those 3 lines, and we know our material is 0.125, 1/8 inch, and so I'm going to go ahead and offset that. Okay, so I'm going to come in here with my trim tool, and I'm going to trim that, and I'm going to trim this. Alright, so if we look at that now, we've got my overall shape of my bridge. I'm going to need a few support structure throughout the middle, so I'm going to go ahead and just do some random lines here. I'm going to do 45 and 45. Alright, so let's say that's how I want to do my bridge. I need to make sure that I show the width of those parts as well. And what I'm going to do for that, I'm going to show you a little different way. If you want your piece to actually end up on that line, what I'm going to do is I'm going to do the 1/8 inch, but I'm going to do bidirectional, and I'm going to change it to 0.0625. So that means it's going to be an 1/16 off each side, which is going to end up with my 1/8. Alright, so I'm going to apply that. I'm going to come in here with my trim tool. And trim these away. So what we're trying to do is we're trying to get one piece for our truss that we can extrude out, and then we can start cutting our pieces out of it. There's my issue. And this line also needs to be the 0.375. Alright, there we go. So now I've got 1/8 inch spacing all the way around for all my pieces. Let's say that's what I want my truss to look like. So I'm going to exit my sketch. I'm going to go ahead and extrude that 0.125, and have it go to the back. Alright, so there is my truss just as one piece. Now what I want to do is I'm going to go through, and I know it's not perfect, I'm just trying to do this quick and show you. What I can do is I'm going to start a new sketch right on there, and then I'm going to come through and I'm going to say, okay, this is a piece of balsa wood. Alright, I'm going to select that. I'm going to hit Control C on my keyboard. And I'm going to go File New. And I'm going to open a new part file, start a new sketch on the front plane, and I'm going to paste that in here. I'm going to go ahead and extrude that, 0.125, and I'm going to save that. And that's going to be my end pieces for my bridge. So I'm going to go ahead and give it a label so I can find it. Alright, so we've got that one done. If you hold Control Tab, you can go back to your other tabs within SolidWorks. Alright, so we've got that. That one's taken care of. Now we're going to go ahead and trace our next one. Alright, so this one's going to be right there. Now we'll go ahead and select these. One thing you can do when you're trying to select just certain things is if you go from right to left, it will select everything that that box touches. If you go from left to right, it has to be fully inside the box for it to work, for it to select it. So I'm going to copy that. Now I know I have a gap up here. We're going to take care of that in this other side. So we're going to go File New. We're going to start another part. And we're going to start a new sketch on the front plane. We're going to paste that in. I'm going to connect these ends. Hit OK. Extrude. 0.125. Extrude it to the back. And there we go. So I'm going to File, Save As. And this is going to be first inside. Now what you could do is on your hand sketch is label each piece, like piece A, piece B, piece C, and then that's going to make your naming here way better. But once you have all of your pieces and you've done this, then you can start your assembly. But if we go back and look at our original here, we don't have to make this piece more than once because it's the same piece over here. As long as your bridge is built in a mirror pattern, which it should be. Mine's off a little bit on this example, but it should be a mirror from left to right. So that means you only have to do one of these pieces, one of these pieces, and then we'll just bring it in multiple times into our assembly. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to do one more of these. And what I want to do is, rather than trace this, I'm just going to start a new part because that one's easy. We know that when we go here, I'm just going to do a rectangle, and we know our rectangle is going to be 12 inches long, and it is going to be .125 tall. Alright, so there's our base piece. So we'll go ahead and extrude that to the back. 1/8 of an inch. Sorry. Apply. There we go. So there's our base. I'll File, Save As, and we'll name this the base. So I'm going to make an assembly from this part. Alright, so we're going to start with our base piece. Now what we can do is if you hold Control down and you drag off that piece, you can make copies of it. So we know we're going to need 3 of those tall. So I'm going to go ahead and mate these together. So there's our base, and then we can start bringing in our other pieces. So we're going to insert our end piece first. So that's right there. We'll go ahead and mate the front of that to the front of this. And so on and so forth. And since I've already made this part, I can go ahead and drag this in. I'm just going to have to make sure that I end up with the same point on the end. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to take this line right here, and I'm going to mate it here, because I know those two have to go together. Oh, it selected the end of that other piece. So I'm going to mate, let's start here, mate that end to this end right here. It's going to have to be the other way, so we're going to flip it. Okay, and then I'm going to do this face to this face, and there to there. All right. So I've got the beginnings of my bridge, and I haven't had to really think about my pieces that I'm using, because I'm just tracing them off the other one. I don't have to come up with the angles, because all I'm doing is I'm tracing them off of my original one-part sketch. So last thing I'm going to say, and then I'll go ahead and end this, is when we get to the point of we've got a whole truss built in our assembly, so once this assembly is complete, save it as the truss, because we can bring assemblies into assemblies. You don't have to build it all the way in one assembly. So I would build the truss in assembly, and then I would bring both those trusses into another assembly and connect those for your final bridge. So I hope this helped. Take care.